always a little bit iffy about Google Hangouts and about if it sounds good.
All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Sasha Ash, and I am the founder and blogger behind Sasha Isabella. And today I am going to be speaking with the fourth person in the Branding Summit, all about branding your blog and using it to create a profitable business. This is Hayli De Jong. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Hayli?
Well, I'm 25 years old and I've been blogging for about 4 years on and off. And I finally realized, after I got a degree and got a job, that I just wasn't going to be fully happy teaching, and kind of was, seeking more in life and like what I could do. And so I decided I was going to go full on with my blog and actually start working on it, putting in all the hours and just see what I could do with it. And so after working for about a year on it and really narrowing down my niche, finding my voice, and starting to grow my blog and business, now I'm starting to see profit and launching products and, loving what I'm doing with my blog. So all while teaching still. So
That sounds really awesome. So today we're going to be, as I said, talking about branding your blog and using it to grow a successful business. So why don't you tell us how important blogging has been in your business and how you've sort of integrated it to build your awesome brand that you have now?
Well, blogging is, I mean, at first it was just blogging, and I didn't really realize that I could launch products and I thought about it, but I thought about it more in the sense of doing like sidebar ads and affiliate links. And so it was it was probably June of last year that I realized I could start to make my own products. And so I started, I realized there was a lot of things I needed to set in place before I did that. And so after you kind of get those things set in place and your brand built up and everything, then blogging becomes more of an advertising tool for your products and a way to show your expertise and just attract people and build up trust. So that's what blogging is more for a business, as opposed to your traditional means of advertising, which is like buying a billboard or advertising on the radio or anything. It also allows you to get almost a higher reach of people because you have access to the entire internet rather than just like people in your hometown. So
Right.
it's really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, personally, in my business, the way I integrate blogging is, as Haley said, as an advertising tool. So, you guys need to start thinking about your blog rather as a sole entity, but as one part
Mm-hmm.
of your business. Your business should be
Exactly.
the hub, and your blog should just be one part of that. And
Exactly.
you, even though it's just an advertising tool, you can still put as much heart and soul into it
Mm-hmm.
as you do now, because that's going to be the biggest asset in your business
Mm-hmm.
besides your email list, of course.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next question I have for you is, what are 3 steps that a total new blogger can take once they've already gotten their website up? How can they begin
Mm-hmm.
so that they're going to be profitable almost right away? If you
That's
know what I
actually
mean.
actually that's what my new course is about. And we're just getting started on that. Actually, tomorrow, it's closed now, but I'll be running another session. But to start off being successful, the first thing that I would totally suggest is to figure out a strong niche and a strong content plan, just because you want that to be so solid so that people know that you are like the person to go to for what you're doing. So you want to go in depth in your content, and every single blog post or piece of content should have a link back to your email list, because people on your email list are already primed to buy, as opposed to somebody who's just finding you, say, on Pinterest or on Twitter. So these people who are on your list are going to be wanting to buy from you, but the only way that you can get them on your list is by having strong content that you're linking them back to. The next thing that I would say, that can prime you to start making money right away, the biggest thing that's really worked for me is to be doing a lot of webinars, because not only is that growing your list, but it's also providing strong content, and it's building trust with everybody that's there and all the replay viewers as well. Plus you can have a little pitch at the end, which is also really nice. So the 3 biggest things, just to kind of sum that up: strong content, be able to convert that content into email subscribers, and then also webinars. So those are my 3 things.
Yes, exactly. So webinars have been so great in my business. I'm having my second one tomorrow,
Awesome.
actually. Um, and it's going to be about launching your blog
Mhm.
and things like that. But by the time this interview goes live, it will probably be closed down.
Yeah.
But basically, how webinars work is people come in, and it's a really great promotion strategy because it's live. So people feel the
Mhm.
need to, oh my gosh, I need to get on this right now.
Yep.
And you also, people don't think you're being spammy if you promote it, because they know that, oh, this is coming up very soon, it's
Mhm.
only going to be at this time. So they're also going not going to put that off.
Yep,
And
exactly.
another great promotion strategy, sort of linked with webinars, is Periscope. So
Mhm.
if you want to get comfortable before jumping onto a webinar, you can start using Periscope and getting that live video feel, and then you can jump into a webinar. And the tech's really not that hard, guys.
Mhm.
It's pretty simple.
Yep, I'm actually the next little series that I'm doing on my blog is all about webinars, so can look out for that too. I'll
That's
be helping everybody with that.
And I'll link that down below when it goes live, guys. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, how does branding integrate with blogging, and why is it important? A lot of people forget about that design and brand part of their blog because
Mhm.
they don't think of it as a business. But why is it so important to growing your blog?
Well, I think it's it's absolutely essential to growing your blog because there's just such a difference. Well, if you want to sell any products, nobody wants to buy from a sketchy looking blog. And as unfortunate as to say that looks really are what matters, it's just true. That's just how people think, and that's just how we're wired to look at something and determine whether or not it looks professional and trustworthy. And it's mostly based on looks. And then after we look at it, then we're going to read the content and see if they actually know what they're talking about. So just having that, it's the professionalism that everything is running together and it's giving you a good vibe. People will buy things based on how you make them feel. And so if you're giving them a good feeling in the visuals and then speaking with them, um, they're going to be primed to buy.
That's exactly right. I totally agree with you on that. So, another thing about branding your blog is you can't just brand the visuals of it,
Mm-hmm.
but your voice has to be consistent. So, why don't you talk a little bit about how to find your voice
Mm-hmm.
and how to keep it consistent throughout all your content?
This is actually, it's such a huge part because, and it's actually, I mean, I'm good at it now. I mean, I'll admit now that it's one of my strengths, but it wasn't always one of my strengths. I actually struggled with it quite a bit just because you don't, it's a hard balance to strike between like how personal you want to get on your blog. What type of voice do you want to sound, super professional, super businessy, or do you want to make it just be really casual and kind of whatever? So it's a hard balance to strike. And I think that for a while, you almost just kind of have to like date, different voice types and see what fits best for you and what your audience responds best to, because you also don't want to be fake. Um, you don't want to make writing hard for you. And that's why you have to find something that you can actually keep up and feels like you. And also, you want to remember that not you don't need to make everybody like you. You want to pick out who you are trying to speak to, and you almost want to repel as many people as you attract, which sounds kind of backwards in business. But those people who, if you're trying to attract everybody, you're really attracting nobody because you can't stand firm in your beliefs. And naturally, when you stand firm in your beliefs, some people aren't going to like that. Um, so it's, that's not what everybody wants to hear, but it's really important when you're actually figuring out your voice and figuring out your brand, is just to be you and be what you stand for and really narrow in on what you want to help people do and what is natural to you. Because people don't like listening to a robot. They like listening to a real person that they can relate to.
Exactly, guys. That is so true. So, another tip I have that I give to people who work with me is, before jumping in and starting to write content, you want to just grab your phone, grab Evernote, and make sure like dictation is turned on. You can do this on a Mac computer too, I believe. And start talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just start talking and see what comes out, what naturally
Yep.
comes out as your voice. Because when you're talking, that's
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to be speaking most naturally. Even if you hate being on video,
Mm-hmm.
you're still going to come out a lot more true to you than if you were trying to write it all out. So start by talking and then sort of see what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Comes up a lot. So I noticed that when I did this exercise, I said two really weird things a lot: awesome sauce and like boss ladies, right? So these two things I sort of integrated into my brand.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've been sticking around Sasha Isabella for a while, you would know that I use a lot of terms over and over again. And by figuring out like a voice guide of what you're going to use a lot and what phrases you're going to use a lot, you're going to keep it consistent and people are going to start to sort of link words and phrases to you. So the next thing I would like to talk about is sort of branding your blog basics. If people don't want to hire a designer or can't afford to hire a designer, what can they do? And a lot of people sort of let their website hold them back. How
Mm-hmm.
can they move forward even though they don't feel totally ready to?
That's actually what I definitely struggled with in like October and November. My husband and I have been saving for a house. We've been married for about a year. And so we don't have a ton of money to spend on doing design and everything for my website. And so I had been on WordPress and I obviously paid for hosting, but I had never found it as, I was willing to pay maybe the $50 for a pre-made design. But I'd never found one that I really loved, and I didn't really want to hire a designer to do a custom design. It just wasn't in my budget. And so actually what I ended up doing was switching over to Squarespace, which I absolutely love. I wish that they had like an affiliate program because I would promote it nonstop. And I know a lot of people, like Squarespace has like this stigma that it's like for brand new newbie bloggers, and people who have no idea what they're doing. Well, and I don't have any idea what I'm doing with code, let's be honest, but um, so many people use it. Like Mariah Cause from Femtrepreneur, she had $500,000 launch and she uses Squarespace. It's not taking it is taking the easy way out, but it's knowing your strengths and weaknesses. And if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on a blog design, it's a really easy route to take. They have hosting for $8 a month, and all of the graphics that I have on there, I've made in Canva. So I guess I get compliments on my blog, and I don't want to be like cocky about it, but I like the way my blog looks, and I get a lot of compliments on it. And it's all just using Squarespace and Canva. If you use like Photoshop, you can probably make it look even better with just the pre-made stuff. And all the templates and stuff are already in there. You don't have to pay extra for it. And you can do like there's a $16 a month one, I think, and $8 a month. And so that's really reasonable. That's what you would pay for like WordPress hosting anyways, without having to pay for a designer. Otherwise, if you love WordPress and you know coding, you can code yourself an awesome site, or you can pay like $50 to $100 for a really nice pre-made site. And you can totally do it well with that too. And that's a very small investment in comparison to a full-on site design. So those are just my personal choice, and then a couple other options that you can do too on a lower budget. So.
That's exactly right. So if you guys do want to use WordPress, but the design aspect is holding you back, a great benefit of Squarespace is that it's drag and drop. So a theme that I really like for WordPress is called Headway Themes. And basically what it is a framework, but it allows you to drag and drop different elements right into your site. So it has a grid editor where you would lay out your site's grid, and then it has a design editor where you can
Mm-hmm.
edit the fonts, the colors, everything like
Mm-hmm.
that. And
It,
so either of these options are really great. Don't let your website hold you back because you're going to prevent yourself from growing. And remember, you can always hire a designer once you've gotten off the ground a little bit.
yeah, it just lets me focus on my content so much more and not spend hours every day trying to code something just right. So it's a great option.
Yeah, exactly. So the next thing I'd like to talk to you about is content. So we're going to talk about a few different things, but the first thing is topics. So how can people pick topics that will allow them to draw in their ideal audience and it won't be, boring? How can they
Mhm.
choose like really amazing topics?
Well, there's actually a couple things that you can do, and I kind of started out first with a reader survey, just to see what people were kind of interested in. And then from there, I did, in the month of December, I did a whole series and really hustled a lot and wrote 4 posts a week for 4 weeks.
Oh my
And it was yeah, it was a pain, but it really helped me to kind of get an idea of what people that I already had needed, and it also helped me grow a lot. And so from that, I mean, and I did kind of a widespread view of just basic things that every blogger needs. So I did, growing your audience. I did some social media. I did building an email list, and I saw what really held the most attention. I also did like making profit, of course. That's something everybody's interested in all the time. But and so based on that, that was kind of how I figured out what to write my content about for the next coming months, and then what to make my next course about. So it actually turned out that I got just really good views on all of it, but there was certain things, like I was getting a lot of questions that were really newbie questions, and so that told me a lot of my audience was really just starting out. And so I wanted to focus on some information for new bloggers right away. And then lately, after I've been doing so many webinars, I've been getting a lot of questions about webinars. And so my next focus is going to be kind of on how you can implement those, and also work a little bit on like growing your email list, because that kind of goes hand in hand. So that's just kind of how I've determined it. It's been just, first it was kind of a survey and trying a couple of things out in the format of a series, but it was all related because I phrased it as like getting your blog ready for the new year. So if you can come up with like an overarching theme like that to fit a kind of a random array of topics in, and then based off of that, you can see what's getting attention, what's getting shared, and then go more in depth in those topics.
Exactly. And another thing you can do to sort of integrate topics that your audience will like is think about where were you a few years ago and what did you need? So, for example, if you were a food blogger, before you started cooking, what did you need to really be successful? And before you started like creating recipes, what did you need in order to create food that tasted really good? So that's another thing to think about when coming up with topics. So you mentioned the series. How can people start creating a series for their blog, and what's the benefit of it?
Well, what I did, I find that once I like start writing down a couple of ideas, I get like a billion more ideas just all kind of in a row, rather than like if I'm trying to just like write a post for like tomorrow, then I tend to like I can't come up with any ideas. But if I have a list going of ideas, then that's when I seem to just come up with more and more and more. And so I would try to build on things that were kind of related, or sometimes I'll be like, okay, I know I want to do it on this topic. What is everything that somebody would need to know about this topic? And I'll write all that down and I would try to come up with about 8 posts on it if I'm doing a series. And then I'll spread that throughout a couple of weeks. I would suggest 2 to 4 weeks if you're actually going to call it a series. If not longer. But then from there, then I would just write out the content, obviously beforehand, and schedule it out just so that I know that I actually have it done. And kind of the benefit of that is it allows me to go really in depth with the topic, and people kind of know what to expect. And so when they're looking out for something, they're more likely to come back to your blog, and they're also, they know that you know what you're talking about. Just if you have that much to say about a single topic, and you can keep creating post after post about it. And then also, they don't have, once the series is done, if somebody new finds you, they don't have to go to another blog to get all of the details on that topic, because after you've spent all that work trying to get somebody to your blog, why would you want to send them away because you don't have enough information? So just try to get all of that information right there, rather than just giving a short little blurb about it and calling it good.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. So how long should somebody make each post in a series, and how does it vary from a blog post that would just stand alone?
Well, that's it kind of varies, because I mean, not every single topic within a series necessarily warrants like a really huge post. And so I actually find that a lot of times, like, series might have a little bit smaller posts just because it is already broken up, and so it's like lessons. And a lot of times, like, I might do like a step-by-step thing. And so step-by-step things, you don't necessarily, I mean, it is what it is, they're going to be as many steps as there are. So, I mean, you don't want to cut quality or say that you can just make it short. And I guess that's my thought on any post, is I don't necessarily have a lore, and I know I'm getting that, but I just want to get out all the information that I need to get out, regardless of how, if it ends up being kind of short, then if I said everything I need to say, then that's what it is. But if it ends up being gigantic and 10,000 words, then that's also what it ends up being. So I don't have any real rules on that, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. So sort of related to that, um, length varies, but what's your opinion on posts that are shorter? Do you think that we should just write until we sort of run out of things to say, or do you think we should add on more value into each individual post just to make it longer?
Well, I don't think that you should just write something to get something out. I think that if you don't have enough to say on a post and you can't give the full value of information, then maybe you just shouldn't write that post. I think that if we, if we write something and we're like, oh, that's really way too short, then either we need to just scrap it and come up with something else, or we need to do more research on it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing research for a post, because obviously you're just growing even more, and it's still saved time for your readers that they don't have to do that extra research. So I definitely think that you want to put as much as you can into a post, regardless. You don't just want to put up something short and be lazy about it. There's a difference between it being like, oh, that's not quite as long as all the rest of my posts, and like, wow, this was just really lazy. So there's it's a hard call, but just don't put something up just to put something up. Really put effort into it and make sure it's valuable for your readers.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so how much do you think people should blog when they're first getting started? Um, and what's your opinion on like blogging 5 days a week?
I think that if you have the time to blog 5 days a week, that's awesome, but you're going to get burnt out really fast. I actually probably suggest maybe 3 times a week for a newer blogger, because I mean, you definitely want to have more posts and be able to kind of fill up your library and get your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you don't want to burn yourself out. So if that seems like a lot to you, what I would actually maybe suggest is to, before you even like launch your blog, or if you're not getting that much traffic right now, maybe just take a break and don't post anything for a week or two, but be scheduling it out in advance so that you can kind of have yourself caught up and give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Another thing that you can do is maybe try to write 2 like full, valuable, real posts, just chock full of information every week. And then maybe on Friday have some type of like feature where you're featuring other bloggers. It's not always, I mean, you're sharing good content that they've written, and you're also allowing them to have something to share just because you mentioned them, and so that is a good way to grow your blog as well. Some people call it a little bit like cheater, but it's a great way to share value with your readers but you want to share people that you know that they would like as well. So that's an option if 3 posts is way too much for you. Everybody's schedule looks different. I mean, I know I couldn't blog 3 times a week if I had kids. I couldn't. There's no way I could like make a course if I had kids. So everybody's schedule looks a little bit different. Blogging 3 times a week works for me, but it wouldn't work for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And you also don't want to sacrifice the content's quality
Exactly.
or the quantity. So if you think that you can only write 1 post a week, that's
Yep.
fine, but make sure that it's like a 4K word banging before you decide to put it up there.
Yep, exactly.
So the next thing I want to talk about is headlines. What are your biggest tips for people on creating headlines? And why don't you tell us, why are they important? Why does everybody stress headlines so much?
Well, I actually just did like a blog review for somebody about this, and that was one of my suggestions, was to change all of their headlines. Just because a lot of times people think that like an artsy headline is really awesome and that's going to get people to click, but what people really want is to get an idea of what they're about to read. They don't want, I mean, they don't know what you're talking about if you give like some like one word mystical headline. People want to know if they are getting 5 ways to grow their audience or 4 ways that webinars are going to help you grow. I mean, people really like numbers. They like to know that it's going to be like kind of in a list form. Just that tells them, I think, that it's kind of a psychology thing. It tells them it's going to be kind of easy to read. And so then you also have to follow through with that and kind of break it up into that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps or whatever. So when doing titles, I try to make it like a how-to or a 5 steps or 5 things. And that's part of the industry that I'm in too, is just that I know that people want those how-tos or step-by-steps. So it could be a little bit different in some other industries, but I think overall humans want to know that it's going to be easy to read, and they want to know what exactly it is they're going to get. They don't want to have to guess. And I mean, because sometimes I'll see on like Pinterest like some random picture and then some random title, and that does not make me want to click because I have no idea what this could even be. So you want to make sure people know what they're about to read, just based on the title.
Definitely. Okay, so how about, a lot of people ask me, well, if I'm using a how-to every single post or a list every single post, wouldn't it look weird in my library? What are your opinions on that?
Well, I guess most of the blogs that I go to do have a how-to or a lists every single thing, and I haven't thought anything of it. And maybe I don't notice that type of stuff, but I guess just in my own experience, I'm not like knocking somebody just because that's all that they have, I guess. But I like to be efficient, and so I'm very much looking for things that tell me what I need to know. Now, if every single post was like 4 things you need to do, 4 more things you need to do, then that might be kind of redundant. But I guess I just try to get my title to get what it needs to get across and tell people what it needs to do. And I guess I've never thought about like, oh, they just have all how-tos. So maybe I just don't notice that, but
yeah. So headlines are really important if you want to sort of gain SEO traction and if you want people to click on your post on any type of social media. So the next thing I'd like to talk about, and actually the last thing I'd like to talk about, is writing for sales. How can people create either a blog series or blog posts or emails that will help them sell their products?
All right. Actually, this is what I've just kind of wrapped up, because I just wrapped up launching my course. And so before I even mentioned, I mean, I had kind of like some rumors going around that I was going to be having another course. But before I even announced it, I started writing posts that were drawing in newer bloggers and kind of relating to like their feelings. Like I had one post that was a heartfelt letter to the frustrated solopreneur. And so it was about, how people make it seem so easy to make so much money and that that's not the case for everybody. So I drew in a lot of people with that just by relating to them and letting them know that I've been in your shoes. I know how you feel. And so you really want to start out just trying to relate to your audience and let them know that you've been in that place before. And then, within your emails, you can get a little bit more personal and tell more personal stories that also relate to that. But you have to start to inform your audience to start out with, and because a lot of people you have to assume might not even know what you're doing or why what you're selling is important. So you have to write some informing posts and informing emails telling them about that. And then after that, after they're kind of informed about it, maybe they've tried it out, started doing it in their own blog or their life, if you're like a therapist, maybe they've tried these things out. Then you might want to start pointing out some issues that you can have with it. Or like some pain points. So that way they start to know they need help with it. And then after you've started to make them realize that you need help with it, then you start to mention a little bit more openly your product and how it can like change their life. And within those, like if you're emailing them, you might obviously mention it a little bit more forwardly sooner than that very end point, because you might have like a price jump or anything. But it's a good pattern to go with information and then kind of pick at the pain points and then show them how you can help those pain points. And you can spread that out in, like, you can do a whole lot of different posts about it, or you can just do like the 3 posts about it right in a row like that. So I guess that's kind of how I do it. And in my emails, I also try to kind of hit different types of emotions and tell different type of emotional stories. Let people see like where they could be at the end. Let people know like that I've been through it and tell a little bit more personal story. So you want to give a good balance of pulling at emotions and along with facts and showing the benefits. So to try to kind of get all kinds of people to get them where they're motivated at to purchase.
Exactly. Okay, guys, so that wraps up this interview. It was so awesome having Hayli here. So there are 3 last questions that I'd like to ask you. First of all, what are your 2 biggest tips for bloggers and entrepreneurs who are just working their butt off to really get their business and site off the ground? What would be your best 2 tips for them to sort of help them get going?
The 2 biggest tips that I have is get involved in Facebook groups, because those are a good place for you to be able to ask questions and meet new people. And when you start to make those relationships, people get excited. They see your content first, and you can also help them out with their problems if you see them like post questions. So you're able to build that relationship, and then those people are also more willing to like share your stuff if they see it, you're in the group with them on Facebook, but then they see that you shared something on Twitter, they're more likely to share that just because you built that relationship. So build those relationships. I mean, you're getting a lot of benefits from those relationships. And then also, just even if you don't think you need it, start building your email list like yesterday, because that's something that so many people regret because they don't think that they're going to have anything to send. They don't think they're going to need it. But down the line, you really end up regretting that you didn't start sooner with an email list. So that's the next thing, is just start.
Definitely. Okay, so the second question I have for you is, what has been the most helpful thing that has helped you grow your blog this year?
I definitely would say a combination of a mini course that I put out and webinars. Those 2 things. The mini course, I actually made it a limited time, and people really find that to be high value. And so I posted that basically everywhere, and then it had a start date. And since it's free, I actually grew my email list by 200 people in 1 week from that.
Wow.
And so, I was really amazed by that. And then I was having about 1 webinar a week or in January, and February will be a little bit slower for that, just to help me to catch up a little bit and work on course content. But that really helped me grow as well. I probably got at least 50 new signups, new email signups each time I did a webinar. So that really helped as well.
Yeah, webinars are really amazing, and so are email courses. Those are really high values to people. So both of those things will definitely help you grow your business a lot. Okay, so the last question I have for you is, how can people support you? You're really awesome, and I'm sure everyone will want to check you out after this interview. So how can people sort of get involved with you and Hayli De Jong?
Well, I've got actually, I'm just about to launch like a new lead magnet, and so that'll be like 15 tools. And I'll also have available for purchase along with that, you can purchase tech tutorials. So I'm walking through each of those 15 things for different tech tutorials. That's something that's kind of in the works right now. And then, like I said, I just wrapped up I'm just wrapped up launching my first session of Map to Blogging Success, but I will be opening that again I'm looking at the end of June. I'll be opening that up again, so you guys can kind of get on the waiting list for that. But up until now, or up until then, I've got that 15 tools, tech tutorials that I'll be putting out here soon, and I've also got just a couple. I've got like a Pinterest course and a quick quick guide to product launches course available as well. So I have all kinds of things to support, and then I've also got a bunch of mini courses too that you can check out. So
That's really awesome. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next interview. I am going to be interviewing Samantha of Hype Social Strategies, and we are going to be talking all about branding your social media. Definitely put into action all of these things that Hayli has talked about, because they will help you tremendously grow your blog. I know that her blog has helped me grow my business a lot, and she has so many amazing tips and information for new entrepreneurs. I would definitely suggest looking out for that tech tutorial course, especially if you're not great with sort of the internet side of blogging. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and I'll see you in the next one.